The room smelled like old paper and expensive wood. A long table stood in the center, polished to a mirror finish. 3 chairs were filled. 3 siblings, though only 2 looked like they belonged. Only 2 wanted to be here, and only 1 looked scared. Jordan Saturday at the far end, shoulders tight, hands folded. His eyes searched the desk in front of him, like it held some secret escape. He didn't want the money. He didn't want the drama. He didn't even want to be in the same room as Ethan and Claire. The lawyer, Mr. Bernard, unfolded a thick envelope and pulled out the will. He adjusted his glasses with a quiet sigh. I will now read the last will and testament of Gregory Edward Whitmore. Jordan swallowed hard. His heart was pounding, not out of greed, but fear. Ethan leaned back in his chair, one leg crossed over the other, a smirk on his face. Claire clicked her nails together, barely masking her impatience. I, Gregory Edward Whitmore, the lawyer read, being of sound mind, do hereby bequeath the following. To my daughter Claire Whitmore, I leave the sum of $1 million. Claire blinked. Her smile cracked. $1 million. That was barely enough to cover her shopping habits for a year. To my son Ethan Whitmore, I leave the same $1 million. Ethan's smirk vanished. His eyebrows pulled together in confusion. And 10. To my son Jordan Emmanuel Whitmore, I leave the remainder of my estate, all residential and commercial properties, my business holdings, the family trust, and liquid assets totaling approximately $47 million. Silence. What the hell? Claire exploded, slamming a hand on the table. This must be a joke, Ethan snapped. There's no way he'd do this. Jordan's heart frenzy. $47 million. He turned toward the lawyer, hoping, praying it was some kind of clerical error. I didn't know, Jordan whispered. He didn't earn that, Claire hissed. He's not like us. Jordan met her eyes. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Mr. Bernard cleared his throat. The will was signed, notarized, and witnessed 6 months ago in my presence. These are Mr. Whitmore's official and unalterable wishes. Ethan stood. This isn't over. Claire turned to Jordan, her eyes narrow and cold. You think you're one of us. You think you belong now because of a signature and a check. Jordan stood slowly. I don't need to belong to you, he said softly. I already belong to him. He walked out of the room, the eyes of his siblings burning into his back. But what none of them knew was that this inheritance was only the beginning of a much darker game. The mansion felt colder now, even with the August sun pouring through its tall windows. The air carried something sharp. Jordan stood by the front door, still gripping the folder the lawyer had handed him. Inside it, the keys to his father's empire. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like a setup. He'd grown up walking these halls, but not with pride, with fear, with silence, with bruises that weren't always on the skin. Footsteps echoed behind him, fast, heavy. "Don't think this makes you one of us," Ethan said, grabbing Jordan's arm. Jordan turned slowly. "I've never tried to be one of you." Ethan's jaw clenched. "You think you earned this? You think helping Dad in his old age makes you worthy?" Jordan's voice was low, calm. "You never visited him when he got sick. You didn't sit through the chemo. You didn't hold his hand when he forgot his own name." Claire stepped in from the hallway, arms folded. He was already half gone when he made that will. He didn't know what he was doing. Jordan's eyes glistened. No, he knew exactly what he was doing. She took a step forward. "You think this house, this money, this life, that any of it was meant for you?" Jordan felt his breath catch. He remembered the nights in his tiny room above the garage, the smell of motor oil from the tools below, the sound of laughter echoing from the main house while he ate alone. He remembered when he was 9 and Ethan dared kids at school to call him Charity Boy. He remembered when he came home with a split lip and Claire had just laughed. Now they wanted justice. He looked between them. "You want the money? Take it, split it, burn it. But you'll never take what I was to him in the end." And with that, he walked past them. He didn't see the glance they exchanged, the look in Ethan's eyes. Because while Jordan was walking away from war, his siblings were already planning their first strike. Jordan didn't go home, not to the estate, not yet. He drove, nowhere in particular, just down long roads under a gray sky that felt like it had been waiting for this moment. He passed old neighborhoods, empty basketball courts, corner stores with fading signs, places that still whispered his name, places that still remembered his pain. He hadn't been back to West Durham in years. The streets here didn't smell like money. They smelled like hot pavement and old fryers and sweat. But somehow, they felt more like home than marble floors ever did. Jordan parked outside a brick apartment complex with rusted mailboxes and crooked stairs, a place that hadn't changed since he was 13. He Saturday there, staring at the front door, remembering the night his mom left, the screaming, the sound of glass, the words his father said that no child should hear. She had been his shelter, his softness, and when she vanished, so did his world. Gregory Whitmore had taken him in, but never like a son, more like a duty, a correction, a mistake to be reshaped. Jordan closed his eyes. He remembered coming to the estate for the first time, saw, scared, wearing clothes to sizes too big. Ethan had met him at the gate, smiling. Fake. "What's up, Shadow Boy?" Ethan had said. Claire just giggled behind her juice box. The memory burned. Jordan opened the car door, stepping out into the past. He needed to remember who he was before the millions, before the name, before the war. Because if he didn't hold on to himself now, they'd tear him apart. Claire sat her day in her room, legs crossed, staring at the will, again and again and again. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped the paper like a ticking bomb. 1 million, she whispered. To me, to Ethan, and 47, to him. It made no sense, not to her. She had grown up believing she was the favorite, Daddy's little girl, the one he dressed up in pearls and told the world about. So why? Her phone buzzed. "Ethan, come to the study, now." She rolled her eyes, but she went. Ethan was already pouring himself a drink when she entered. His tie loose, eyes red. "You look like hell," Claire said flatly. "You feel like being rich again," he shot back. She leaned against the doorway. "I'm listening." He turned toward her, holding up a folder. "I had Dad followed for months before he died. I didn't trust him. Didn't trust him either." Claire's brow lifted. "What is that?" "Bank records, private transfers, meetings Jordan had with Dad, strange deposits." Claire stepped forward, intrigued now. Ethan smirked. "We don't need to fight him in the streets. We fight him in court." Claire flipped through the pages. A whisper of doubt slipped through her lips. "You think we can prove he manipulated Dad?" Ethan's eyes darkened. "I think we can make it look like he did." Silence stretched between them, but behind it, greed pulsed like blood. Claire closed the folder. "Let's bury him." Jordan returned to the mansion at dusk. The sky burned orange behind the estate, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the lawn. He hated how big the house felt now, how hollow, how it echoed without his father's voice. He walked into Gregory's old study. It smelled like cedar and cologne, like memory. The books were untouched, the globe in the corner still open to Africa, his father's quiet obsession. Jordan stood at the desk, staring down at the leather chair his father used to sit in. For the first time in days, he let himself breathe. He reached into the drawer out of habit. Pens, pause, and something else. An envelope, old, yellowed slightly at the edges, labeled in fake handwriting, "For Jordan, after I'm gone." His hands trembled. He opened it. Inside was a letter. "My son, if you're reading this, then I've already failed you one last time. I dying before I could say all of this to your face. I was not a good man. I built empires, but not trust. I built walls instead of bridges. And you came into my life when I had no blueprint for love anymore. But you loved me anyway. You never asked me for a thing. You worked beside me when your siblings stayed away. You made me feel human when I had become a machine. I know what Ethan and Claire did to you. I saw it, heard it. Sometimes I ignored it, hoping it would pass. That was cowardice. So I give you what I have now, not because of guilt, but because you earned it. You saved what little soul I had left. Take this empire. Protect it. Protect yourself. They will come for you. Be ready. Dad. Jordan folded the letter with shaking fingers. His throat was tight, eyes burning. For the first time since the reading of the will, he let himself cry. But the tears weren't just grief. They were fuel. The sun had barely risen. Jordan sat all day in the kitchen, a cup of black coffee untouched in front of him. The letter was tucked safely in his pocket, like armor under his clothes. He heard footsteps before the knock, firm, confident. The door swung open. Ethan, wearing a smirk, wearing war. Jordan didn't stand. "You're up early," he said calmly. Ethan walked in like he owned the place, like he always had. "You should have stayed away, Jordan." Jordan met his eyes. "This is my house." Ethan laughed, cold and sharp. "Not for long." He tossed a folder onto the table. It slid across the polished wood. Jordan opened it. Fake statements, forged transfers, false timelines. His face remained unreadable, but his stomach turned. Ethan leaned in close. "By the time our lawyers are done, the media will ping you as a manipulative liar who took advantage of a dying man, a con artist who tricked a fragile old father into handing over his legacy." Jordan stared at him. "You really want to destroy your father's name just to ruin mine?" Ethan shrugged. "He left me nothing. He doesn't have a name anymore." Silence. Jordan pushed the folder back. "Do what you want. I'm not afraid of you." But that wasn't true. Jordan was afraid, not of Ethan's lies, but of what those lies could do in a world that never wanted to believe a black man could be more than a side note. The letter from Gregory burned in Jordan's pocket like a secret he couldn't protect. He'd read it 10 times already, hoping for strength between the lines. But letters don't stop lawsuits, or headlines, or betrayal. His Saturday across from his lawyer, Miss Lena Howard, a sharp woman in her late 40s with eyes like scalpels. "They filed it this morning," she said, sliding a stack of documents across the table. "Full claim, alleging undue influence, coercion, and mental decline." Jordan flipped through the pages slowly. Each paragraph cut deeper than the last. Claire and Ethan had crafted a version of reality where Jordan was the villain, the opportunist, the manipulator. They're using photos of your hospital visits as proof, Lena continued, claiming you isolated him, controlled his medication schedule. Jordan closed his eyes. I fed him, he said softly. I held his hand when he cried. I cleaned him when he couldn't move. Where were they? Lena didn't answer. She didn't need to. They were building their case with paper, with fear, with the public's hunger for scandal. Lena leaned forward. We can beat this, but it won't be clean. Jordan looked at her. I don't need clean. I just need truth. But deep down, he knew truth wasn't always enough. Not when money speaks louder. By noon, the vultures had arrived. Not the legal ones, the media. Cameras Saturday outside the gates of the Whitmore estate like hungry animals. Journalists shouted questions Jordan couldn't hear through the glass. Jordan Whitmore accused of inheritance fraud. Estranged son steals family fortune. Was Gregory Whitmore manipulated in his final days? Jordan Saturday on the edge of his bed, TV remote in hand. The screen blared his name, his face, his story rewritten by strangers who had never met him. He clicked it off. Silence. His phone buzzed with missed calls. Old classmates, reporters, even people from church. Some offered prayers, others offered interviews. Most just wanted something. He stared at the floor. Was this what it meant to win? To be hunted in your own home for something you never asked for? He stood, walked to the mirror, looked at himself. He didn't see a millionaire, or a thief, or a symbol. He saw a boy again, 10 years old, shaking under the covers while laughter echoed from the main hall. And now the world thought he was the villain. He whispered to the mirror, "Don't let them make you what they say you are." But his voice shook. Rain tapped against the windows like soft knuckles, the kind of rain that made the world feel smaller, quieter. Jordan Saturday in his father's office again, surrounded by old books and older ghosts. He didn't expect anyone. He didn't want anyone. So when the doorbell rang, he frowned. He opened the door cautiously. A woman stood there, mid-50s, umbrella dripping, eyes tired but warm. Jordan. He blinked. Miss Trina. She nodded. Can I come in, baby, just for a moment? He stepped aside without thinking. Trina had been his nanny for 3 years, back when he first came to live with Gregory, the only adult who didn't treat him like a burden. She used to slip extra pancakes on his plate when no one was looking. I saw what they're saying about you, she said, settling into the leather chair. He stayed standing. They're not all wrong. She looked up at him. You think helping your daddy die with dignity makes you guilty? He looked away. I think people believe what they want. Trina tilted her head. You were always the quiet one, always helping, always trying not to take up space. She rose from her chair and stepped closer. I don't know why Gregory waited so long to see you, but when he finally did, he told me something. Jordan turned to her. She smiled. He said, Trina, that boy made me human again. Tears welled in his eyes. Don't let those other two steal what you earned with kindness, she whispered. You already proved yourself. She hugged him. Like a mother. Like home. Claire's Saturday in a candlelit lounge, legs crossed, glass of wine untouched. She stared out the window, not at the rain, but through it, through time. You're quiet tonight, Ethan said, sinking into the velvet armchair across from her. Claire didn't answer right away. She was thinking about her father, about how he used to bring her here when she was little, let her sit on his lap, while he signed contracts and sipped bourbon. Back then, she thought he was a god. He really gave it all to him, she muttered, even this place. Ethan snorted. He lost his mind. Too many pills. Too much guilt. Claire turned sharply. Maybe we made him hate us. Ethan's smirk faded. She leaned in, eyes narrowing. We were never kind to Jordan. Not once. Because he didn't belong, Ethan growled. He was a mistake. Claire sipped her wine, bitter. Maybe the mistake was us. They Saturday in silence. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that crept under skin. Ethan finally broke it. Well, there's no turning back now. He pulled out a manila envelope. Claire frowned. What's that? Insurance, he said. Photos, text messages, emails. Whose? Jordan's. He's been emailing a woman in Chicago. Guess what she is? Claire blinked. A journalist. He grinned. An ex. One who still has dirt on him. Claire leaned back. The taste in her mouth grew sour. We're really doing this? Ethan nodded. All the way. Chicago. Windy, gray, restless. A coffee shop on the corner of Belmont and Clark buzzed with life. Inside, nestled by the window, a woman sipped tea and stared out at nothing. Her name was Alexis Monroe, Jordan's ex. They hadn't spoken in over a year, not since things fell apart. She remembered how he used to laugh, how his smile came slowly like dawn, how he would look away when he was scared of being seen. She also remembered how he shut her out, When his father got sick, how he let the silence grow so loud, it broke everything between them. Her phone vibrated. No name, just a number. She answered. Hello. A man's voice. Confident. Cold. Ms. Monroe, I believe you knew Jordan Whitmore personally. Alexis frowned. Who's this? Someone who can make it worth your while to tell us what kind of man he really is. I'm not interested. She hung up, stared at the phone, then at her reflection in the window. Part of her wanted revenge, part of her still hurt. But part of her still loved him. So when the phone rang again, she didn't answer. She deleted the number, put on her coat, and started walking toward a flight, toward the truth. Jordan stood alone in his father's study, surrounded by shelves of thick leather-bound books, each one untouched, perfect, just like Gregory had liked them. He ran his hand along the spines. There was one book, near the bottom, its cover slightly torn, out of place. He pulled it out. Inside, instead of pages, he found a hidden compartment. A small wooden box lay inside, dusty and heavy. He opened it slowly. Letters, down scenes, some addressed to Claire, some to Ethan, none of them sent. His father had written to them, but never found the courage to deliver. Jordan sat her down, unfolding one of them. Ethan, you always reminded me of myself, and maybe that's why I was hardest on you. I thought money would make you a man, but I never taught you how to bleed for what matters. I'm sorry. Another, Claire. You wanted to be seen so badly, but I only gave you mirrors, never windows. You needed a father, not an investor. I'm sorry. Jordan's hands trembled. He had known his father felt these things. He'd only seen the surface, the silence. Beneath it all, Gregory Whitmore had been breaking too. A knock at the door broke his thoughts. He opened it, and there she was, Alexis, soaked in rain, breathless, eyes wide and wild with memory. Hey, she whispered. He couldn't speak, could only stare. She stepped forward, carefully. They called me. Your brother tried to pay me. His jaw clenched. I didn't say a word, she added quickly. He searched her eyes. Why did you come? She took a breath. Because I never stopped caring. Jordan and Alexis Saturday on the velvet couch in the study, the silence between them thick with everything left unsaid. The box of letters rested on the table between them, a fragile bridge between two broken pasts. She reached for one, gently. You found these? She asked. He nodded. They were hidden in a fake book. I think he wanted to say all of it, but never did. Alexis opened one addressed to Gregory's second wife, Jordan's mother. Her eyes moved silently over the page, then shimmered. "He loved her," she whispered. "You." Jordan swallowed hard. "Then why did he let them treat me like that?" She looked up, her voice tender. "Maybe because he didn't know how to stop it, or because he thought you were strong enough to survive it." He gave a small laugh, dry and bitter. "Strong enough. I spent nights crying into my pillow while they made fun of my hair, my skin, my existence." She reached for his hand. "You're not a victim anymore." He stared at her fingers laced with his. "No, but I'm not sure I know who I am either." The storm outside rattled the windows, thunder rolling like a distant war. He stood, unable to sit still. "What if I give it all up?" he asked suddenly. "The money? The name? Ways Tate?" "Then you'd still be you," she said. "And who is that?" he shot back. She stood too, firm now. The boy who stayed kind, who stayed soft in a world that tried to make him hard. "That's rare, Jordan. That's real." He stared at her, heart pounding. Something in her eyes made the anger crack, and grief slipped through. He fell into her arms, and for the first time in years, he let himself cry. The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Jordan walked down the hallway, passing family portraits that now felt more like haunting reminders than memories. His footsteps echoed on the marble floor. He paused by his father's office. The door was ajar. Light spilled from within. Inside, he found Ethan, his older half-brother, rummaging through drawers, panic edged across his face. "What the hell are you doing?" Jordan demanded. Ethan spun around, caught it. "There's got to be a mistake. A hist. There's no way you get everything." Jordan's voice was calm, too calm. "I don't have everything." Ethan scoffed. "Oh please, the house, but trust, but shares." "You had him your whole life," Jordan cut in. "His attention, his approval. I got his silence." Ethan's mouth tightened. "Don't act like a victim. You always played the saint, always acting like you were better than us." Jordan stepped forward. "I wasn't better. I was just trying to survive." "You think being black makes you special?" Jordan frowned. The words hung in the air like broken glass. He could feel something crack inside, but he didn't yell. He just looked Ethan dead in the eye. "I never wanted to be special. I just wanted to be seen." Ethan looked away, jaw clenched. Jordan walked past him, toward the desk. He opened the bottom drawer, the one Gregory always kept locked. Inside, a journal. His father's handwriting on the first page. "To my son Jordan, I'm sorry for everything I failed to say." Jordan's knees buckled slightly. He sat her down and began to read. The leather journal was old, worn at the edges, pages yellowed slightly with time. Jordan turned the first page, his fingers trembling. His father's handwriting was neat, deliberate. "If you're reading this, Jordan, then I'm gone. And maybe I never had the courage to say what you deserved to hear. I was a coward. I loved you, God help me, I loved you so much it hurt. But I failed you, over and over again." Tears blurred Jordan's vision. He blinked them back, breathing heavily. "When your mother died, I broke. I didn't know how to raise a black son in this world, and I was ashamed that I didn't even try to learn. I let my guilt become silence. I thought by giving you space, I was protecting you. Instead, I abandoned you. Your brothers." Jordan's jaw tightened. "They were never taught compassion. They mistook privilege for strength, and I let it happen. I was too busy preserving my name to protect your heart. But you grew, despite me, despite them. You became the man I hoped to be but never was. You gave me grace I didn't deserve. You sat by me when I could no longer speak. You held my hand when I was ready to leave this world. You forgave me." Jordan closed the journal, pressing it to his chest. He felt hollow and full all at once. The house, the money, the business, none of it compared to these words. These pages were the only inheritance that truly mattered. And it was his. The morning of the funeral came wrapped in gray. Clouds hung low, heavy with the weight of unspoken things. Jordan stood at the edge of the grave, hands folded in front of him, face unreadable. Beside him, his brothers shifted uncomfortably, dressed in tailored black suits that felt more like costumes than mourning. Tyler leaned close to Connor, whispered something with a smirk. They chuckled quietly, thinking no one noticed. Jordan noticed, but he didn't react. The priest began to speak. Words of peace, words of legacy, words that seemed to float above them, disconnected from truth. Jordan's thoughts drifted. He remembered the last time his father laughed, really laughed. They had been sitting on the porch, sun setting behind the trees. Jordan told a joke, something dumb. But his father laughed so hard, he coughed for a full minute. That laugh had been real. That moment had been theirs. May his soul find rest, the priest concluded. The casket began its descent. Jordan felt something inside him sink with it. Not grief exactly. Not relief either. A quiet finality. Connor cleared his throat. "Yes, that's that," he muttered. Tyler shrugged. "He's dead. We move on." Jordan turned slowly toward them. "I read the journal," he said. Both brothers frowned. "What journal?" Connor asked, voice tight. Our fathers, his real words, not the speeches, not the will. Tyler scoffed. More manipulation. Huh? You really buying all that guilt trip crap? Jordan stepped forward, eyes calm, voice even. He owned his mistakes. Did you ever do that, ever once? Silence. The wind stirred, leaves rustled at their feet. Some inherit money, Jordan said. I inherited a man's truth, and I'll build something better with it. He turned and walked away from the grave, the world behind him full of ashes. But ahead, embers still glowed. Jordan stood in the foyer of his father's mansion. The air was thick with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the waiting kind. Furniture draped in white cloths, dust dancing in the beams of sunlight. Everything still, like the house had been holding its breath. He walked through slowly, fingertips grazing the wooden railing of the staircase. Memories clung to every inch of this place. The smell of cigar smoke in the den, the sound of classical music floating through the hallways, his father's voice calling out, "Jordan, bring me that ledger, son." He swallowed hard, paused at the study door. It creaked open like it recognized him. The room looked exactly the same. Books stacked in towers, old whiskey bottles half full, and the leather chair turned slightly toward the window, as if waiting for a man who'd never sit there again. Jordan walked behind the desk and sat her down. For the first time, he wasn't a guest, wasn't the outsider. He was the man of the house. He pulled open the drawer, inside the journal, and a sealed letter addressed to him. His fingers trembled slightly as he opened it. Jordan, if you're reading this, then I am gone. I won't pretend I was a perfect father. I know I failed you in ways I didn't even see until the end, but you never failed me, not once. You were better than all of us. That house is yours, but more than that, the legacy is yours. Fix what I broke, build what I couldn't, lead with the heart they tried to beat out of you. Forgive, if you can, but never forget. You are my greatest decision. I love you, Dad. Jordan let the letter rest against his chest, eyes closed, breathing deep. No one could steal this from him now. Not the house, not the truth, not his place. He stood and opened the front doors wide, let the light pour in. The house wasn't haunted anymore. It had been reclaimed. It began subtly, not with fists or fire, but with smiles too wide and words too sweet. Jordan was sipping wine in his father's old garden, overlooking the city skyline, when Daniel showed up. "Mind if I join?" Daniel asked, holding a bottle. Jordan looked at him cautiously. His brother hadn't spoken to him alone since the funeral. "Sure," Jordan said, voice low, guard up. Daniel poured 2 glasses. "To new beginnings," he said. Jordan clinked, sipped, waited. Daniel leaned back in the chair, eyes scanning the estate. "You've done well, brother," he said. "Never thought you had it in you." There it was, that familiar knife wrapped in silk. Jordan let it slide off him. "I had a good teacher," he replied. Daniel laughed too loud, too long, then grew quiet. "You know, Dad always had a way of making us feel small." He swirled the wine in his glass. "Especially when he talked about you." Jordan didn't reply. Didn't need to. Daniel leaned in. His voice dropped to a whisper. "You really think you're safe here? That piece of paper makes you king." Jordan stared at him. "Is that what this is? A threat?" Daniel smiled again, serpentine and smug. "Just a reminder. Blood doesn't fade, and envy doesn't die." He stood up, glass in hand. "Enjoy your kingdom," he said, "and watch your back." That night, the security cameras glitched. Emails were tampered with. Bank alerts flashed red. Someone was inside the system, inside the walls. Jordan stood in the middle of the estate, fists clenched. It had begun again, only now, the games were darker, smarter, colder. And this time, he wouldn't just defend, he would fight. Jordan barely slept. Every shadow in the house seemed to move. Every creak of the old wood felt like a threat. Eye dawn, he was pacing the halls, checking locks, testing security codes. When he turned the corner toward the back entrance, he nearly collided with someone. A woman, wearing a charcoal suit, carrying a slim laptop bag. Her hair pulled back tight, eyes sharp and unafraid. "Mr. Whitmer," she asked. He frowned. "See, who are you?" She calmly extended a business card. "Amara James, private security consultant." "I was sent," she explained. "I'm Miss Lena Howard. She thought you might need extra protection." Jordan stared, unsure if he could trust her, trust anyone. But something in her voice, steady, measured, made him pause. "How much do you know?" he asked. Amara lifted an eyebrow. "About the sabotage, the corrupted servers, the legal minefield your brothers are planning." She stepped closer. "Enough to keep you from losing everything." Jordan studied her, long, hard, then gave a small nod. "All right," he said. "Show me what you can do." Amara opened her laptop right there on the hallway console, her fingers flying over the keys. Firewalls, encryption, new passcodes, layers of protection Jordan couldn't even name. "First rule," she told him without looking up, "never assume blood is on your side." Jordan let out a weak laugh. "Yeah," he sighed. "Learned that one the hard way." Amara's eyes softened, just a fraction. "Then let's make sure you don't learn it twice." The courtroom was silent, air thick like honey. Time felt frouncing. Jordan Saturday at the long oak table, hands clasped tightly. To his right, Amara. To his left, Lena. Across from him, Trevor and Blake, both in tailored suits and smug smirks. The family attorney, Mr. Gillespie, stood and cleared his throat. This is the final will and testament of Walter Whitmore. Jordan's heart pounded. He closed his eyes, remembering his father's voice, the gentle way he used to say his name, the last hop, the trembling hand in the hospital. Walter Whitmore, the recording began. Being of sound mind and memory, do hereby declare this will to be my last. Blake shifted in his seat. Trevor cracked his knuckles. The voice continued. To my sons, Trevor and Blake, I leave $1 million each. Blake jerked upright. 1 million, that's it. Gillespie held up his hand. Let the will finish. Walter's voice resumed. Because though I loved them once, I cannot pretend they were ever there when I needed them. They squandered every opportunity. They mocked their brother, and when I grew ill, they vanished. Trevor's face went pale. To my son Jordan Whitmore, the only one who stayed by my side, the only one who made me proud, I leave the remainder of my estate, including all business holdings, properties, and liquid assets. Silence. Then chaos. Blake stood, furious. You can't do that. He's not even your real son. Jordan rose calmly. He was my real father, he said softly, even if you never were real brothers. Trevor tried to lunge forward, but Amara intercepted, her hand already on her taser. He backed off. The judge banged his gavel. Enough. This will is legal and binding. This court session is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, the sun shone down like a blessing. Jordan stepped into the light, chest full, eyes wide with relief. He didn't feel powerful. He didn't feel rich. He felt free. Lena slipped her hand into his. Amara nodded silently. Ready, Lena whispered. Jordan smiled. Let's go home.